tired. So when you're tired, the emotions are coming out even more. And you know that if you start to have doubts, the level is going to drop. You know, if you start to think a little bit too much of what you want to do, or what you're going to do, or how you're going to do it, it's going to be a different match. And for me, it's always been like a big puzzle. You have to put all the pieces together to play your best level. And in my career, it took me so many years to get there at my best. And I knew at that time that when I was feeling good with every aspect of the game, but not only tennis, mentally, physically, then I was the best player I could be. And but it takes so much to get there, but not people see only the match. But for me, it takes so much in the practice session to push myself to know that when I'm gonna be in a big match, it's gonna come. It's gonna be automatic. I'm gonna do things without getting in trouble mentally.
And how did your private life and everything that you experienced, you know, with your family or privately, let's say off the court, affect your performance on the court and everything is happening? Because for me personally, I always believed in the holistic approach to life. I mean, I can't separate, even though I understand that, you know, throughout my life, I also had people that were telling me you have to separate and differentiate your. So you have to separate these two. For me, it was never really something that resonated with me, if you know what I mean, because I'm the same person that I'm on the court. I'm also the same Novak off the court. So of course that I have a professional transformation when I'm on the court and turn into a warrior. But at the same time, I just felt that everything that I was experiencing in life was transferring to the court, and how I felt on the court, how I was able to keep my concentration, intensity, recovery, and so forth. How was it for you?
No, I think the private life always affects the way you feel it, because it's again about the emotion, about the way you feel mentally. But I think during my career, at times, at tournaments, I could get into my bubble, and I was really, doesn't matter what was happening outside, I find a way with myself to be okay. When I'm on the court, there is nothing can affect me, nothing else gonna affect me. But this is only few tournaments, so I'm basically counting the Grand Slam. But the rest of the time is really tough to completely separate your private life or what you're doing outside the court, off court. It's always going to affect you on the court, I feel.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And if you don't mind me asking, what is the biggest motivation for you now at this stage of your career and your life as a tennis player? What motivates you the most on the tour or so forth? Or is it traveling? Is it achievements? Is it something else?
For me, first, since I came back from the surgery, but since I came back at the level, I feel good with it. So that's mean basically since last year, when I feel good on the court, I feel like I appreciate much more what I'm doing and what I'm achieving. Because before that, I always felt that you run about the next tournament, you run about the next match. You don't have time to appreciate the way you're playing or what you're winning or not. And that's for my career. And so now I appreciate much more. What really motivates me is the emotion I get on the court with people, with the fan. I feel like last year was one of my best year, emotion-wise, on the court. French Open, I had an amazing crowd with me or against me, and many tournaments. And that's something that I really enjoy. My dream is to win more tournaments. That's for sure, because last one was a long time ago. That's one of my goal. And again, is those emotions, but not only on the court, but also the pressure you feel and the way you build yourself as a player. I'm a big believer in it. Trust the process, do the work you need, and it's going to pay off sooner or later. And that's really what I want to keep pushing myself to. But right now is not the time you really push yourself. But yeah.
Well, yeah, you're right. You have to kind of pace yourself, you know, and I'm a big believer in work smart, not just work hard. I think, you know, each one of us is different in our own individual special way. And so we all have different bodies that require different things, different amount of work, specific work, and so forth. We were actually, Andy and I were speaking about that yesterday, the very same thing that you said, the appreciation for everything that you're experiencing on the court. And because of the constant competition, the constant travel, adrenaline, expectations, pressure that you pose on yourself, that you feel from the environment, you're on the road constantly, especially if you're at the top. You're expected to win most of your matches, so you move from one tournament to another in literally few days time. You have to change the surface, you have to change the country, the continent. You don't have time even to celebrate a big win, because you know, you have, like, for example, Madrid, Rome back to back. So you have to travel the same evening or the next day. So, you know, those are little perks of tennis, which, of course, make our sport very special. But at the same time, you're right. It reminds us, you know, I think this kind of time where we don't compete and we have several months, I feel like it's a great time for us to practice to be more present. You know what I mean? Because I feel like in the matches, when I play my best is when I'm completely, fully in the zone, which means I'm fully present and attuned, and everything flows. I don't need to think about what I need to do. It comes automatically. But you know how many matches you and I and tennis player has lost in his life because you're just overthinking and you're doubting yourself, and you're, you know, folding maybe under pressure because you just don't maybe trust that at that moment that being there is enough, that you feel like you have to do more and create more. So you start paying attention to all these distractions, the crowd, this and that, and it becomes a huge mess, basically.
But to talk about crowd, how do you deal, because there's a question I received many times, and honestly, as a tennis player, a fan, I watch you play those years, and especially last few years. And how do you deal, especially when you play Roger, the crowd against you?
Well, of course, it's not easy, you know, when you have most of the people in the stadium cheering for your opponent. And I personally feel that as long as there is respect, meaning if they cheer for my opponent and they don't disrespect me, I'm okay with that. But if there is a disrespect, then I can react a little bit emotional. And of course, I understand that as well. Those kind of reactions that I have towards the crowd at times throughout my career, I'm not proud of them, and it's not something that I am in favor of and that I'm supporting for myself to do, because I know that it's not necessary at all for me to react, because in the end of the day, I have to preserve all the energy for what I have to do, you know, and play the best tennis I can possibly play and stay present. But, you know, we are all people. We all get emotional. We all get distracted and stuff like this, especially if you're alone on the court. We're individual athletes, so we don't have anybody to really rely on. And this is what you have to deal with. And that's what makes you tough mentally as well. But honestly, earlier in my career, when I was experiencing matches, especially against Roger and Rafa, where most of the crowd was cheering for them, it was tougher for me. I felt like it's not fair, that you know, I deserve more support, so forth. And I was spending a lot of energy on that. I was more emotional about that. But then I think throughout my own evolution as an athlete and experiencing these kind of situations more, I accepted it. And by accepting it, I felt like huge relief. And I also felt I managed to conserve more energy that I can use for more constructive things, you know, for myself.
Yeah.
It's my Stefan, my boys here.
He's there.
Hey. Stan the man.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
You good?
Yes.
Yes.
Igraš tenis. Če ga pitaš kada hoćeš tenis da igraš s njim.
Okay.
He would like to play tennis with you. He's just shy to ask you. But
I cannot
whenever.
wait. When you invite me, I will play with him for sure.
Okay.
Are you
So-
practicing tennis or no?
No, well, we are playing a little bit in the garden, basically.
Yeah.
Just we put a little net so we play, and he likes to play. He's motivated now. We'll see how that works in the future. But going back to what I was saying is as well. What I said after the finals last year against Roger in Wimbledon, which was one of the most epic matches that I was part of, and there it was really interesting, in terms of the crowd support and everything. With most of the people were cheering for him, and I mean that was obvious from on and off the court as well. But
that's why you think it's still like that.
Why is it like that?
Why you think it's still like that?
Why do I think it's still like that?
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, we can discuss about various things and factors why this is in such way or other way. It's really hard to say. I mean, for sure, one thing is that Roger is, arguably the greatest player of all time. He's the guy that is liked around the world. So I don't expect, to be honest, in most of the cases, as long as he's playing, the crowd to be in majority on my side, if you know what I mean. Yes, some places maybe, but in most of the places they're going to support Roger, and I'm okay with that because it's Roger. So, and it's very similar situation with Rafa. So yeah, it's hard for me to answer to that question. Why is it like that? Am I contributing to that in a negative way, that I'm taking away the crowd support from me? I don't think so. I think it's more just the greatness of Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal, and not them just as a tennis players, but them as people, as very charismatic, nice guys, humble guys, great champions, that have made huge mark in our sport. And I am part of their era. So in one way, I'm lucky. In another way, maybe not so much. So. I guess I don't know. What would you say? What do you think about it?
You want to know what I think? Well, I think it's a bit of, for sure, what you said, that they are amazing champion like you are. I think in your young age you were a bit different, of course, like we all are, and that they took this spot already of the nice player, humble, and always fair play and all, and that in a movie you cannot have three good guys. You need someone who's a bit against. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm saying that with a lot of respect.
No, of course.
And that's probably, I think, when you were all three younger, that's the direction that everybody took a little bit, and now it affects a little bit right now. Yeah, but
it's true.
My vision.
No, it's you're absolutely right, because my beginning of the rivalries that I had with these two guys, it was like I was this confident young player that was saying, yes, I respect Roger and respect Rafa, but I can win against them. I can win big titles. I can be number one. My goal is to be number one. And I think all of that has created this kind of I would say feelings with people, and this kind of situation where people were asking, who is this young guy to challenge the big Rafa and Roger, and then I was feeling like it's me against the world in a way, and
but you also need a little bit. You also need that a little bit.
Yeah, that's how I felt. I don't feel that way anymore, to be honest. I mean, for many years now, but especially in the first 3 to 5 years, I was feeling like, okay, it's me against the world. I got to prove it to everybody. I'm going to fight. I'm going to, not give up. I'm going to be, focused, and I'm going to be fearless warrior, and of course it did give me results in terms of tennis and everything. But at the same time, of course it was giving me a situation that was difficult to also handle, because every time I would go out on the court with them, it would be tough, and it still is. But I guess
In
it's different from my perspective. I have internally, I have changed the way I'm experiencing this, that I'm seeing this, and so that has changed the whole external experience for me as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Do we have some? You have some questions, Monpot?
I have a question from. I receive a lot of questions, but one from my coach Magnus. He asked about you, Coach Maria. What was for you the part of your game he most influenced?
What was the part of my game that my coach Marian has influenced positively?
Most, yes. Because you've been working now for how many years?
We've been working. We started working in 2006.
Yeah.
So it's been 15 years, and Marian has been there, you know, more or less from the day one of like pro tennis, and Marian has been an incredible role model for me in my life. It's really hard to talk about him only as a tennis coach. You know, he's like a brother. He's like a father to me. He's like family. Really, we've shared so many moments. I remember, you know, times when I was struggling mentally, emotionally. I would go into his room crying. Was, I think, one moment when I was really down on myself, where he lifted me up and helped me tremendously, was in 2010. I think when I lost to Meltzer in quarterfinals or Roland Garros, I was 2 sets to love up, and I lost in 5, and then I had a little bit of a crash, and I went to his room crying on the floor, and he was there for me, him and also Miljan, my physiotherapist, and one of the best friends in my life. You know, these guys have been a tremendous support. And Marian, in terms of technical stuff on the court, I think he has helped me a lot with positioning on the court, and how to tactically execute the right shots at the right time. We worked over the years on forehand and backhand, probably a bit more on forehand, and serve as well. And we were bringing in, you know, other coaches on board as well. Boris Becker. I think Boris, I saw Boris.
Watching.
I don't know.
He's watching.
I don't know.
Hi, Boris. Yeah, he's watching.
He's here. Sure. Boris, Schatzi, wie geht's dir? He's an amazing guy, and he has helped me tremendously with my serve, because I feel like earlier in my career I was serving well, and then I had this elbow injury, and then you know, everything started to change. My technique has shifted, and I don't know, I lost my rhythm for the serve, and then Boris.
Quick joke. I thanks Boris.
Yeah.
Because in quarterfinal Australian Open, you made serve and volley on match point against me, and you missed the volley. And that was the transition for you when you were starting to go more at the nets.
Well, to be quite honest, yeah, he did not say anything about that play. He probably liked the play from the standpoint of being courageous, but I don't think he was not actually making me play serve and volley, but he was just, we were working a lot on the serve. And same thing also with Boris, and now with Goran Ivanišević as well. Is like Marian and I have always tried to see, you know, what are the little details that we can improve in the game biomechanically, in terms of tactics, in terms of strategy, in terms of positioning on the court. You know, at that highest level, everything matters, as you know. So I think Marian has contributed to, of course, everything, every shot, because it's hard to pick just one shot.
From the beginning,
we worked on that hard, but I think mostly on how to strategically place myself on the court and position myself so I can execute the best shots at the right time. Yeah.
It's been so long with him also, though.
Yeah. How long have you worked with Magnus?
We started in 2013.
13. Okay, yes, you guys have been
2000, so a long time also. Yeah.
Nice.
Big Grand Slam with him. So
what do you feel Magnus has contributed the most to your game?
But I think like we got also, maybe not as long as you, but for me, we are really close. He's like a really close friend. We share everything. He saw me cry more than one time. unlike you, cried many more times after losing. But I think in my game, something that's really helped me is that to practice in a way that it's come back a little bit more automatic when you play the match. And that you know that when you start to have doubts during the match, you can rely on what you did in the practice court. And that's something that's helped me to get confidence little by little. And for me, that's one of the big reasons of why I start to suddenly win bigger matches in my career.
I have an interesting question for you, because I've always, it's very interesting for me to observe players in terms of the practice and how that translates to the match. Do you feel like, are you one of these players that needs to hit an extra ball on the warm-up or on the practice so you can feel the shot more? Or you know when it's time and you say, okay, it's enough, so less is more, and basically that's going to make you feel better on the match?
No, I think less is more, especially later on my career, because you need to be careful with your body.
Sorry,
so,
1 second. Sorry, Stan.
No problem, no problem.
Super, that was such a Dutch. Sorry. Yes.
So for me, yes, less is more, because you need to be basically fresh mentally, physically for the match. But I'm kind of the player who needs to have the hours of practice before that. Yeah, I just need to find the right balance of when I can push myself and when not. But I'm not the player who's gonna warm up, miss the last match, and ask for more smash because he missed one smash. You know what I mean. I know when I'm ready, and when I'm ready, I can completely turn off 1-2 days before the match.
Interesting. Because sometimes for me, I do both. Sometimes I feel like less is more, but actually also quite a few times I feel like if I miss a smash, I'm gonna make another one and another one and another one. And sometimes the warm up for the match goes for like 45-50 minutes. You know what I mean? And I feel
but
like,
smash-wise, it didn't work yet.
Smash-wise, it's still not working.
So forget the warm-up, it's smash.
Exactly. So anyone out there that knows how to hit the proper overhead, please let me know. Text me, direct message, Instagram, I'll respond. Okay, so do we have any other questions maybe from the fans? Do you want to see
do you have any questions? There was many. Let me check a bit what. Yeah, kind of question came back often is, when was the match you lost and you were the most angry going out?
Well, one of them was with you, Roland Garros finals in 15.
But why you were hungry?
And another one was probably also with you in 15. No, was it 16 in New York? I don't know. For some reason, you make me angry, man.
Oh, come on.
You completely dismantled my game.
You guys can leave a little bit for the others, so please. I've been 15 years on the tour, and I got only few, so please let me that.
No,
but why you get angry? Because you think you played bad? You think you missed the opportunity to get, or just because you lost?
Exactly. Well, not. Look, both of the matches that I lost to you in finals was at Roland Garros and US Open. I felt that it was a very similar trajectory of the match.
Yeah.
I started well. I won first set in both of the matches. And then some close games, pretty even in the second set, where result was kind of here and there, didn't lose my chances, and that's where you pick up. And then you go to a level which was higher than mine, and you were a better player, and you won against me. So I was not upset with the way I've played, because if you just overplay me, if you're just better, that's it. I cannot be too upset because of that. I just have to accept it and say well done. But I was upset with myself that I repeat the same thing twice. That I allowed you to take over the momentum and the control of the match. And I feel like I had an opportunities in both second set of both finals to just win the second set, and then probably the match there would be a much higher chance for me to win with being 2 sets up. So this, I was upset with this kind of outcome, so to say, with my loss of concentration and loss of intensity probably in those moments. That's all. What about you?
Me, I will say was one match for sure, clearly. World to final against Roger, when I had made a match point to play you in the final, but was not to play you, was just like to have the chance to play the final of the World to final for a tennis player is something so big. And I know that day I let him win. Like, you know, there is not that match. I know I had everything in my game and in me to finish it, and I made the mistake. I shouldn't have done it. And another one, big one, was against Gasquet in Wimbledon quarterfinal. I think it was 2015, and I lost 6-4. And I think the level in general was really good, like for me on grass. But for me, I was really angry to not have the chance to play you in the semifinal, especially just after, because we played against each other on every surface, but not on grass.
I was happy, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Sorry
You
that
would
you
have
lost
killed
that
me
match, but I
anyway,
was
so
happy.
please. You would have killed me anywhere on grass, but I would have. I wanted that day so much to play you in the semi-final of Wimbledon that, yeah, I was really sad after that match.
Yeah. And how long does it take you usually after the match like that, where you, I don't know, you feel like you let yourself down in a way, you know? I mean, how long does it take you to recover, like, and be ready for next match, next turn?
In World to final, it took me. I let myself be down the next full day, but then I had to push myself because we were gonna play the Davis Cup 5 days or 6 days after. So I had two options: one to stay down, and knew that day that then you'd not give yourself the best chance to play well in Davis Cup, or just be like, okay, I give 24 hours to my brain to completely be down, to be sad, to be mad, anything, any emotion out, but then you focus on the next match. And the next match is so important that it's going to make you forget what you lost before that. But I also feel that early on in my career, it took me longer to get over matches, especially big matches. But when I start to basically, after my first Grand Slam, it's always been short. It's always been short. Like, I lost, okay, I lost. It's not the end of the world. Next one, go back to practice. You know what it takes. You know what you have to do to be at your best, or at least to give you chance for that. But normally, right now, like last few years, it doesn't take time to really get over it. I'm already thinking about, okay, what do I want next?
Do you like watching your own matches and analyzing?
I feel like that's not something I'm the best at. I feel like I watch sometimes a little bit points there and point that, but for me, I feel like I know exactly what I did. I know exactly when I lost the match. I know exactly when I did this double fault. I know exactly that at that moment I went a little bit defensive. Like, I can tell you every match. I know what happened in the match. So for me, watching it doesn't really help me unless I do it with my team and then my team explain to me something, but they can explain to me without watching the match because I know exactly what happened. So that's not my favorite. I prefer to watch other tennis players. Prefer to watch you. In tournament, I love to watch the match. Like, when I'm back in the room, hotel, especially in Grand Slam, I put the TV on and I watch the match because I think for my career, I learned so much by watching you guys and practice with you guys. That's when it helped me so much to be a better tennis player.
Absolutely. Yeah, same for me. I think I love watching tennis. I think for most of the guys is the same. You know, when you're during the tournament, you're like always constantly following what others are doing and analyzing their game and trying to pick few things that you can implement maybe in your game and try. And I feel I also like, even when I'm not in the tournament, like when I'm at home, I like to go on YouTube, or I like to look at some replays and highlights of the matches, or some slow motions from like all the players, from Roger, Rafa, yourself, or anybody. And there's always something that is very interesting for me to really try out myself on the court next time I'm hitting a ball. But same like you, I don't particularly like watching myself, even though I know that like Kobe Bryant, for example, was always talking about the importance of, even though you feel very bad about, you know, playing a certain way and you know, you lost the match or whatever, that you have to go back, you have to go right away and see that replay. And even though if it hurts badly, you should stick with it, because that way you are also kind of proving to yourself that you can do that. And just sorry, sorry. So I do understand that there is an importance of that, and I do prefer watching and analyzing the videos of myself from the practice sessions, or like practice sets or whatever, if somebody records me, but not so much from the matches. And I actually like going fast forwarding through the match, like just at particular points of the match where, as you said, you know exactly, I feel is exactly the same. So I just try to look, because I use the memory of and remembering which part of the match was a change in my game that caused me to maybe lose that match, and I go to that right away. For me, see what happened.
Yeah, for me, if I watch my match, it's more to watch what my opponent did, you know, because I know what I did, and I feel like I know the mistake I've done, but I want to understand why this player pushed me to do that. Or maybe sometimes during match, I feel like after the match, oh, he played so well, he was so aggressive, he pushed me so much. And if I look back, I'm like, no, you gave him the balls to be aggressive. He wasn't an aggressive player. So I like to watch more to understand what happened at the opponent, from the opponent.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. And there's it's funny, but how emotions can play a game with us, you know, when even if you win like easy first set, you know that the next few games are crucial for you to maintain that level, right?
You know, exactly. That's, you know, I think like with age, you know, even more, you anticipate even more that next game, this one, it can make the difference, you know? And that's I think something I feel dangerous for me with age and later in my career, is that to not anticipate so much what can affect or not the match, and to stay more in the momentum, because you've been playing those matches so many times that you know exactly that one break point, 1 point at that moment can completely turn the match. So sometimes you think too much about the future and not into the moment.
For sure. All right, Stanima, let's see. We have a few more questions maybe here from the fans.
For sure.
You let me know if you have an interesting question that you want to...
I cannot get the question, only you, because you've been online.
But you can see the comments.
The
comments. You both have the best backhand, one and two-handed backhands, question mark. Was that a question, or is that the...
But we know about you, that's what...
I know about you as well, man.
So we're all good.
We're all good there, okay? Let's keep going. We got time, okay? Let's do two more questions.
One more question,
And
if you get good question.
Let's see. Stan, are you 35? Are you 35, Stan?
Yeah, I had a great birthday alone. I
35, man.
It's late, huh?
No, you look younger. What are you using? What's your secret potion?
Oof, you don't want to know. It's not vegan.
Let me guess.
Not vegan.
Let me guess. French wine.
More Italian wine.
More Italian. You like Italian wine?
Yes.
Ooh.
I do right.
More romantic soul right there.
You got any good question?
See, no questions so far. A lot of hearts. Thank you guys for being here.
Chrissy Everett is watching.
Where do you see tennis in 10 years? That's a good question.
Ooh, that's a good question.
That's a very good. Actually, maybe Stan, you can answer that first, and you can tell me where do you maybe see tennis after Corona, and how is that going? How is Corona?
Honestly, there is a lot of question mark about. Then I have one question also for you, because I read a lot of stuff. But no, no. After Corona is a lot of question mark. The first question is, when is gonna be the after Corona?
Yeah.
That's
something that I think most of the people on this planet don't really know.
Exactly. Yeah. And the problem in tennis is we come from every country in the world to play one tournament.
Yeah.
So how can we handle that?
Yes.
How can we handle, even if we play without fans, there is, like in a Grand Slam, there is what, 2,000-3,000 people working for the tournament to make it happen.
Yeah.
So all those questions is quite complicated to handle it right now, especially that right now is the worst time. We are in the big crisis, so it's difficult to understand when it's going to happen for us.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. This kind of unpredictability is something that we are not used to. Also, I think as tennis players, we're always used to knowing what the near future is going to look like. We make our schedule, we make our plans almost 1 year ahead. We know where we are going, what we're going to play, where we're going to be. So this is very interesting, and at the same time also disturbing, you know, for all of us. And I think what you mentioned about tennis being a global sport, the disadvantage of tennis comparing to maybe some other sports, like, I don't know, that are played on the national level, like NBA, NFL, NHL in States, is that we have to travel and change places so frequently, literally week after week. We have to be in a completely different country, on a different continent. And that's I don't know how that's going to be like in the future, near future, or whatever it is, whether it's in a couple of months that we can start to travel again or not. What is it going to be with the vaccinations? Is it going to be an obligatory vaccination for you to travel or not? You know, it looks like, I mean, obviously, as you said, there's a lot of question marks, and we also have to, I think, consider some other maybe concepts included in tennis, something that is, you know, I guess more played in a certain continents or in certain areas like of Europe or States. I hope it doesn't come down to that, because our sport is all about international opportunity and about possibility for everyone to travel and play tournaments all around the world. But if this corona virus situation escalates even more, I'm afraid that we are going to, in a way, have
to find a solution.
Find some solutions, because guys who are ranked between 200, 250, especially to 700 or even higher, are thinking about leaving tennis right now. You know, because they
already barely make a living, so it's tough.
Exactly.
That was my question. About it. How do you? Because we all tennis fans and everybody start to read things that came out from the top. How do you think tennis can help those players who barely make a living, but they like to be 250 in the world in tennis? It's already amazing.
Yes.
And they barely can live right now. So what is the option that can help them to at least survive the coronavirus until we can start to play again?
Well, let me answer that question from two perspectives. First, short term, and then long term. I think short term, I spoke to Roger and Rafa a few days ago, and we had a long conversation about, you know, about near future of tennis, what's going to happen, how we can contribute, and how we can help, especially lower ranked guys who are obviously struggling the most of anybody, because majority of the players who are ranked between whatever 200 and 250 to 700 or 1000 don't have federation support, don't have sponsors, so they are completely independent and kind of left alone. And so I'm really glad that ATP, Grand Slams now, most likely, and players, hopefully, if we all get together, will contribute collectively to the player relief fund. Yes. That ATP will distribute using certain models of and criteria. Like, for example, I mean, you don't want to, you want to avoid giving money now to a player maybe that fits into this group of people that are ranked lower, but doesn't need money as much as maybe someone else. Because, you know, he has been, I don't know, a top 50 guy for a long time. Now he's been injured, so maybe he doesn't need as much as the other guys need. So there's certain criteria, rules that will be in place, and ATP is working on that. So right now it looks like there's going to be hopefully somewhere between $3 and $4.5 million that is going to be distributed to these lower ranking guys, and then other things short term that we can do, and that depends obviously on the continuation of the season, and that's something that the players also have to agree, is that whether or not in the certain tournaments, maybe World Tour finals, maybe bonus pool for top guys in the end of the season, that kind of money, whether that kind of money will also be transferred to this relief fund. Yes. Or if we don't have any tournaments this season, maybe we can collectively take certain percentage from our prize money from the Australian Open in January and direct that into the relief fund. So there are always ways that you can help. I'm really glad that tennis ecosystem is coming together. Yeah. Because I think everyone realizes the importance of the base of the tennis, and these guys are that are ranked from 250 onwards. They are the ones that make the grassroots of tennis, that make the future of tennis. And I feel we have to be united. We have to support them. We have to show them that they're not forgotten, that we are there for them. But also, I feel we have to send a message to the younger generations that are taking in consideration to be professional players, and to show them that they can live out of tennis, yes, even at the times when there is a pandemic and there is a financial crisis, that they still can rely on the support of the top guys, of the ATP as a governing body, of ITF or Grand Slam. So that's short term. Long term, I think that what we did now in a short term, which is coming together for this cause, I think this is necessary to happen in a long term, which is more complicated, because as you know, there is ITF, that is independent entity, International Tennis Federation, and longest standing tennis federation in the history of our sport. Then you have obviously Grand Slams that operate as independent entities, and you have ATP as well, you have WTA. So all of us have to consolidate somehow and come up with a plan and a system that will support especially the base or the grassroots of tennis, which is this lower rank guys, both men and women. We have to somehow regulate better the initial levels of professional tennis, and allow these players that are starting to play professional tennis to have an easier way of transitioning to the higher levels. Yes. If you know what I mean. Because right now, a few years ago, there was a rule change with the challengers, the Challenger Tour, and the Transition Tour. I don't think that's good, to be honest, because it creates even more separation there. Yes. So there are ways. It's not going to be ideal, but I'm glad that at least we're all looking into changing things for better. And